I'm going to read some quotes from the book Monster by Walter Dean Myers. The first quote I'm going to read is actually on page 5, and it's actually from Steve when he's writing his notebook in the beginning. And it says, "I'll call it what the lady who is the prosecutor called me, monster." I think this quote meant a lot, and it was definitely a good start to begin the book. It really told me a lot about the prosecutor herself, and that is Miss Petrocelli. Hope I'm saying that right. But I just think, like, for her to label him like that this early in the case, when she doesn't really know, she's just a prosecutor. I mean, she's trying to charge him. I just don't think that was appropriate of herself to label him like that. So it kind of showed a lot about her personality and just who she was as a person. And also, like, I'm in law enforcement classes, and they say you need intent and to show evidence. And throughout the book, Miss Petrocelli didn't really show any evidence or any intent that Steve really was trying to get on this robbery. Even some of the people she called to testify, some, not all, they only testified to lessen their sentence. So I just think her, as a prosecutor, she didn't focus a lot on Steve himself throughout the book. So I think this first quote is pretty good and kind of showing her. I didn't like her, but okay, I don't think people like many prosecutors anyways, but on page 242, this kind of continues on with what I was saying. It says, "And think about this, Laurel Henry, who seemed for all the world like a decent, law-abiding human being, testified that she was sure that there were 2 men in the store, 2 men involved in the robbery, and we have 2 men who admitted participation." So, Laurel Henry, she was, as everyone saw, kind of moral, and so people, her word, I think, meant a lot in this book. Continuing on to that, and that was actually, that quote I just said, that was Briggs in the closing remarks at the end of this book. But then if you continue on page 256 and 257, this is actually Petrocelli talking. So going on about what Laurel Henry had said, how she had seen 2 people in the drugstore at the time. It stated Mr. Evans testified that he was actually in the drugstore, taking an active part in the robbery. And then Mr. Evans also testified that when he arrived at the scene, he saw Osvaldo Cruz there. And this testimony was verified by Mr. Cruz. So it is said that 2 people were found, or 2 people were already there, and Steve Harmon was not really involved, in my opinion, at all. And then some other quotes on here, like, because there was a lot of characters in there, so sometimes it might have been confusing. But also on 256, it says Mr. Bolden testified that he received stolen cigarettes from Mr. Evans. We know that the cigarettes were stolen from the drugstore. Jose Delgado, the drugstore clerk, testified that the cigarettes were stolen. In other words, Mr. Delgado verifies Mr. Bolden's testimony. So, yeah, that's the quotes I got. Good book.